Welcome to another episode of Auto Mundial, your weekly home of all the latest car news and reviews. This time we're checking out Rolls-Royce's electric coupe, the Spectre. Is this the future? Or should Rolls stick to V12s?
We're also looking at the newly updated Vauxhall Corsa as it squares up to the Renault Clio. Plus two-wheeled adventure with BMW's new GS and a Porsche 911 rival from Mercedes, the all-new AMG GT. That's all coming up later in the show. Up first though, it's the news.
Worcestershire-based sports car maker Morgan has begun development of an electric version of its Super 3. The first prototype, known as Ep4-24, is a fully electric take on Morgan's popular three-wheel two-seater. The standard car uses a 1.5-litre three-cylinder Ford engine with 118 brake horsepower, but the EV version is set to beat that with 136. The current range stands at 100 miles in cold weather, but the engineers are working to improve that ahead of the production car's reveal. Naturally, it is heavier than the combustion version, but only 60 kilos heavier, so it should retain its inherent driving characteristics, minus the manual gearbox, of course. The 100 kilowatt motor is supplied by UK company iNetic and drives the single rear wheel. The dampers and spring weights have been fettled to handle the extra weight, while the engineers are still deciding whether the standard car's tyre setup will make it onto the EV. Morgan is yet to announce a release date for the electric Super 3, or indeed whether it'll make production at all.
The Super Mini market has always been competitive, and the car that came out on top last year was the Vauxhall Corsa. Britain's third best-selling car overall of 2023, the Corsa is now Super Mini top dog following the demise of the Ford Fiesta. It's a hugely important car for the brand then, so to keep it at the top of the sales charts against the likes of the Renault Clio and Volkswagen Polo, Vauxhall has refreshed it for 2024. The most immediately noticeable change is at the front, where the designers have sharpened things up with a new grille to match the Astra. Vauxhall calls it the visor, and it certainly does a good job of modernising the style. Mid-spec GS and top-spec Ultimate cars get a black roof and black trim, and there's a new selection of alloy wheels to choose from. There's also some new badging at the back and one new colour to choose from as well. As facelifts go then, this one is certainly on the milder side, and it's a similar story inside, where the biggest difference between this and the old one is the new seat upholstery. Thankfully, the infotainment has been updated and now not only looks better, but responds faster. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are both now wireless, and top-spec models get a wireless phone charger. There are 3 trim levels to choose from. The basic design model starts at £19,275, and for that you get some LED headlights, rear parking sensors, and some modestly sized alloy wheels. Next up is the £21,655 GS. This gains some black trim, tinted windows, and some safety tech like lane keep assist and blind spot alert. And then, at the top of the tree is the car on your screen, the Ultimate. Priced from more than 25 grand, it comes with all kinds of extra luxuries, including a heated steering wheel, climate control, adaptive cruise control, and even a massaging driver's seat. Powering the new Corsa is a 1.2-litre turbo petrol motor, available with 74, 99 or 128 bhp. The latter of which is automatic only.
As popular as the Corsa is though, we've always preferred this, the Renault Clio. Like the Vauxhall, it's just had a midlife update and it's looking better than ever. The totally redesigned front end gets some new slim LED headlights, along with some more trick lighting. Meanwhile, the new bumper and grille are complemented by Renault's newly refreshed diamond logo. The rear end gets a similar treatment, and there's now a host of new colour and wheel options to choose from. And it isn't just the outside that's had a makeover. The interior of the outgoing Clio was a highlight, and now it's even better, with Renault focusing on improving the quality of materials throughout the cabin. As well as it all being put together better than before, there's also a focus on sustainability. There's no longer any leather, for example, replaced instead with recycled fabrics. The trim levels have been restructured, with the top spec R-Line making way for the sporty-looking Alpine seen here, inspired no doubt by Renault's sports car sub-brand. There are two powertrains, a 90 horsepower petrol model starting at under 18 grand, undercutting the Corsa, and a 1.6 litre petrol hybrid. It's a lot more expensive than the basic car at more than £21,000, but it is impressive. Combined power is 143 brake horsepower, meaning a 0 to 62 time of just under 10 seconds with a top speed of 112 miles per hour. Not rapid, but the hybrid system pays dividends at the pumps, with a combined MPG figure of 67.3.
The Clio feels a bit more substantial then than the Corsa, and it is nicer to drive. And the fact you can get one for less money does make us wonder why it's the Vauxhall that continues to find the most buyers.
Back in 2014, Mercedes decided to take on the Porsche 911 with the AMG GT. A sleek, elegant coupe with classic proportions, it went on to spawn numerous high-performance and track-ready variations to rival anything from Mercedes' Stuttgart neighbours. Tapping out in a blaze of glory with the magnificent GT-R Black series at the end of 2020, we wondered if we'd ever see another big V8 sports car from AMG. Now though, 4 years later, there is a new one. Based on the new Mercedes SL, the 2024 AMG GT looks like a clear evolution of the old car, retaining its curvaceous shape and long bonnet, updated with more modern styling. Inside, it gets a similar interior to the rest of Merc's latest cars, and that's certainly no bad thing. There's plenty of carbon fibre on show and those famous turbine air vents. A massive screen dominates the dashboard, while a second digital display sits ahead of the driver. Like the convertible SL, the new GT now gets 2 rear seats. Like the 911s, they're not really designed for adults, but the new 2+2 layout puts the big Merc even further in line with the Porsche. And to go with its extra seats, the new, more sensible GT also gets a bigger boot. There's 312 litres of space, more than you get in a Ford Fiesta. You can even fold the seats down for even more space. However, no one is buying a car like this because of how much flat-pack furniture can fit in the back. So let's move on to the more important stuff. With its SL platform, the GT gets the same all-wheel drive system and a choice of 2 powertrains. Both models use the same 4-litre twin-turbo V8 with the entry-level GT55 producing 469 brake horsepower and the full-fat GT63 producing a mighty 577. Despite having some extra grunt over the old car though, the 55 is slightly slower from 0 to 62 at 3.9 seconds due to its nearly 2-ton curb weight. The 63 though is as rapid as you'd expect, hitting the acceleration milestone in 3.2 onto a top speed of 196, matching even the most hardcore versions of the previous model. Power is sent to all 4 wheels via a 9-speed transmission and an electronically controlled limited slip diff working with a steering rear axle. When required, up to 100% of the car's torque can be sent to the rear wheels, meaning it should be able to slide around like a proper AMG. To improve handling, Mercedes has focused on improving rigidity with lots of magnesium, aluminium and carbon fibre bits within the car's structure.
So, how does the AMG GT stack up against this? The 911 Carrera 4 GTS. Based on the all-wheel drive Carrera 4, the new GTS can't be replicated by ticking some boxes on the 4S configurator. This time, Porsche has set up the GTS to provide its own distinct driving characteristics. Bridging the gap between Carrera 4 and Turbo, the GTS gets bits from higher up in the 911 food chain. The brakes are from the Turbo, the wheels are from a Turbo S, and various bits of the interior are trimmed in the same Racetex material found in the GT3. The 3-litre flat-six engine produces 473 brake horsepower, 30 more than you get in a regular 4S, and the highest output this side of a 911 turbo. That also makes it the quickest regular 911 you can buy, hitting 62 miles an hour from rest in just 3.3 seconds onto a top speed of 192. Purists will be pleased to learn that a 7-speed manual gearbox is available, while an 8-speed PDK transmission is a no-cost option. The manual gets an ever so slightly shorter gear stick than lower spec cars to provide a shorter throw. To give the GTS a dynamic edge over the regular 4S, it sits 10mm lower to the ground, while the turbo brakes improve stopping power. The extra horsepower comes courtesy of some increased boost pressure and some alterations to the cooling and intake systems.
The Carrera 4 GTS starts at £128,000, but prices are yet to be released for the GT55. The GT63 is on sale now, though priced from just under £165,000. After the break, Rolls-Royce goes electric. Coming up, the new electric roller. But first, the BMW GS range has been with us for the best part of 50 years now. From humble beginnings as an 800cc dual sport bike, BMW has now produced over 500,000 of them. Models have gradually increased in capacity from 800 to 900 to 1000, up to the current R1250 GS model. And now there's this new one with a 1300cc capacity boxer engine. It's called the R1300 GS, and it's got some big shoes to fill. For many, the R1250 GS was the closest you could get to a perfect bike. A comfortable riding position, adventure bike styling and a trusty BMW build quality. And that was reflected in the sales, shifting almost 60,000 in 2022, the best-selling adventure bike on the market. So what's it like? Well, despite the bigger capacity, the new R1300 is 12 kilograms lighter than the outgoing model, thanks to a lighter engine and smaller footprint. Nothing from its predecessor has been carried over, including an updated frame and suspension setup, with BMW's own telelever and paralever systems. With an increased capacity comes an increased power output, up to 143 from 134, and torque is increased too, from 105 to 110. This power jump might not seem much, but it allows the rider modes, which were very similar on the outgoing R1250, to be much more user-friendly. Thanks to its smaller footprint, the new GS is more agile and easier to ride, handling more like a supermoto than a large adventure bike. With heaps of torque, acceleration even in higher gears is effortless, and should you need to change, the standard equipment quick shifter means it's a breeze. Up front, the cockpit has a familiar full-colour dash with all the information you could possibly need. Base spec models come with more standard equipment than the outgoing GS, with cornering-linked ABS, cruise control, engine braking control, traction control, and hill hold assistance. Also standard equipment is an updated lighting system, with indicators integrated into the handguards and a brand new LED headlight in this X-shaped unit, switching from the dual light setup on the outgoing model. However, while there is more standard equipment, there is no shortage of optional extras. Adaptive cruise control is one of the more anticipated, with front collision warning and lane change warning. Also optional are additional riding modes: Headlight Pro, where the LED beams turn into the corner, quick shifters, semi-active suspension, the list goes on. So how much does it all cost? Well, a base spec GS will set you back the best part of £16,000, but opt for the TE model and prepare to pay almost £18,500 with comfort package, heated seat, comfort seat and riding assistant. There is also the off-road biased GS Trophy with special paint, dynamic and enduro packages and a fancy headlight. The R1300 GS then sounds like BMW has taken a very good bike and made it even better, and we expect it to sell just as well as its predecessor. But what if you want a bit more power?
Well, Ducati has you covered with this, the Multistrada V4. Essentially, what would happen if you took a V4 Panigale superbike and shoved it into an adventure bike frame? It produces 170 bhp from its 1158 engine. This is the new rally model with an updated chassis and suspension and electronic package. Like the BMW, it gets radars front and back, adaptive cruise control, vehicle hold control, a multitude of riding modes and a 6.5-inch dash. But the big sticking point with the Multistrada has always been its price. Even a base spec model will set you back over £17,000, and you'll need deeper pockets for the V4 Rally, starting at a shade under £24,000. But opt for the Adventure Travel variant and that price shoots up to almost £27,000, making this a very expensive bit of kit.
If we had to pick between the two, we'd go for the Beamer. The R1250 GS is a bestseller for a reason, and with the R1300 GS being more powerful, lighter, more fun, faster and more agile, it really is a no-brainer.
For well over a century, a Rolls-Royce motorcar has represented the absolute pinnacle of luxury driving. With obsessive attention to detail in every inch of every car, the historic British marque has become a synonym for quality and success. Until now though, every car has been fitted with a large engine, worked on and perfected to be among the most refined and silent power plants on the market. But we've always suspected a Rolls-Royce could be even quieter. In 1900, company co-founder Charles Rolls bought himself an electric car, going on to say, "The electric car is perfectly noiseless and clean. There is no smell or vibration. They should become very useful when fixed charging stations can be arranged." 124 years later, the British charging network remains a work in progress, but Rolls-Royce is ready. This is the Spectre, the Sussex-based brand's first ever EV, and, unlike the Phantom and the Ghost, it's not a big limousine, but rather a sleek Grand Touring coupe. It's certainly Rolls-Royce size though. At 5.5 metres in length, this two-door coupe is longer than a Range Rover, and at just shy of 3 tonnes, it's heavier too. 700 kilos of that gargantuan mass comes from its 102 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery pack. With battery tech borrowed from the new BMW i7, the claimed range is 329 miles, and it can be charged with a 195 kilowatt charger from 10 to 80% in less than 35 minutes. It also uses the same motor setup as the big BMW, with a total power figure of 577 brake horsepower across both axles. As a result, the Spectre's performance is more than adequate, hitting the 62 mph mark from a standstill in 4.4 seconds. Really though, no one buys a Rolls-Royce because of how fast it goes. Open the enormous rear hinge doors and you're greeted by one of the very best interiors in the world. The materials are first class, and just about everything can be personalised to your taste, with an endless list of wood veneers, carpets and colours for the acres of leather. The dash layout is nothing new, with an array of easy-to-use physical buttons and a beautiful infotainment screen. The £330,000 Spectre then is just as much a Rolls-Royce as its V12 powered stablemates. If you're looking for the best electric car in the world, here it is.
Join us again next week as we check out Dacia's all-new Duster. Is it still the crossover bargain it once was, or has it gone all posh? Find out next time on Auto Mundial.